Okay, I'm going to play the following clip without interruption because it raises a number of good points. And then at the end, if you want to stick around, I'm going to give a brief kind of rebuttal to it.
Ideas and tying into Yuval Noah Harari briefly, because I have to mention him every 10 minutes because he is the one leading the Great Reset. Yuval has done a series of interviews on MSNBC and other broadcasts where he has said that AI will soon tell governments where they are allowed to spend money. That's Yuval Noah Harari discussing this. So again, I could see how that would be used.
You know, you brought up Yuval. I saw on something you put out, he sold 65 million copies of his book.
Oh.
That is concerning, thinking about all of the people that have read that and maybe not even understanding the root of what he's getting to. And that's something that you have really exposed a lot of people to. You were on that right from the beginning and brought that name to most people's mind who'd never even heard of Yuval Noah Harari. But you've been on it a long time, and you brought out some new clips that are quite disturbing.
Yeah, well, I'll say this too. Robin Bullock, folks, if you want to hear somebody who really is a good speaker and a much nicer guy who has more pigment than me, watch Robin Bullock because he also does a great job exposing Yuval Noah Harari. And if you are out there today and you're looking for a fun date idea, you can take your husband or wife to the new Yuval Noah Harari shrine. It's called the bookstore. You go to the bookstore and it's just Yuval Noah Harari everywhere. The bookstores that I went to in Tulsa, I went to two. At the front door, they have the Nexus book cover on the door saying this is the top selling book, pre-order now. So this is Yuval Noah Harari. This will be September 9th. So a few days ago. Here we go, folks. Here we go.
Yuval Noah Harari. This week, he has a new book out. It is titled Nexus, A Brief History of Information Networks from the Stone Age.
Now, real quick, in Latin, nex means to kill, to bind, to murder, to put into perpetual bondage, nex, and the word us. So perhaps that has another meaning. He has mentioned that the reason why he has a bird on the cover is he said that when Noah put out the bird to see if there was dry land, this is his version of that. The bird coming back. And so it's like a reverse Noah's Ark. Let's hear this one more time, folks. Here we go.
Yuval Noah Harari. This week, he has a new book out. It is titled Nexus, A Brief History of Information Networks from the Stone Age to AI, and I've been reading him all the way back to Sapiens. You've sold now 65 million books. It's a remarkable situation.
The key thing to understand about AI, it's not a tool in our hands. It's an agent. It's an independent agent making decisions, inventing new things, and therefore it has a potential to change every area. Finance, the military, religion, in ways that we never saw before in history. Think about a holy text that can talk back to you.
Okay, folks. I mean, this is Yuval Noah Harari, a man who, just break it down real quick here. Yuval means father of music in Hebrew. Noah means, as in the days of Noah. Harari shall ascend to the mountaintop. That's what Harari means in Hebrew. He's the lead advisor for Klaus Schwab. He's praised by Obama, Zuckerberg, Gates, MIT, Stanford, Harvard. Certain people that I know very, very well have told me that it looks as though Yuval Noah Harari is in discussion to be the next leader of the World Economic Forum after Klaus Schwab steps down from that position. I do not know that is true, but very credible people have told me that in recent days, that looks like that's a foregone conclusion. Hopefully that does not happen. Yuval Noah Harari is an outspoken homosexual. He's a proponent of the transhumanism agenda. He's the world's best-selling author. He claims to have graduated from Jesus University. He is a biblical scholar, and his worldviews exactly parallel 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7, Revelation chapter 16, verse 12 through 14, and he seems to be obsessed with putting surveillance under the skin, rewriting the Bible using AI, banning the eating of meat, and ushering in. He's recently called for rebuilding the third temple and ushering in a new religion and having new and changing the times and the laws. So it sounds like he wants to be the Antichrist prophet. If he's applying for a job, that's the job he wants.
Clay, I don't want it to just kind of to slip through the cracks there. What's the difference between a tool and an independent agent? Okay, if I'm going to go dig a hole, I look at the shovel is my tool. It's something I'm using when I'm using it. And I hang it up, and it's an extension of me that makes it easier, and it's own thing. What is an independent agent? I kind of picture a little bit one of my favorite movies, Office Space. where Samir is always like cussing and he's mad at the printer because there's always a printer jam. It says there's a printer jam, but it's not a printer jam. It's like the printer has its own mind, you know. It's like demon possessed. It's working against you, independent of you.
Everybody's experienced that before.
It's not like the printer is not a tool just sitting there. It actually has an agenda and it hates me.
Yeah.
And you know, they make you want to swear and throw things. And so what is he referring to when he talks about this entity of AI not being just a tool to use? This thing is an independent agent with its own conscience.
Okay. Let me do this, and I don't want this clip to be super long, but I need people to watch what he says, and you probably won't hear it on other shows outside of your broadcast, so we need to listen to this clip. But an agent, the dictionary definition of an agent is a person or thing that takes an active role in producing a specified aim or objective. So I'll give you an example. I am an agent trying to reawaken America. So what's my goal? My goal is to reawaken America. The Flyover Conservatives broadcast is an agent of encouraging people to speak up and to stand up and to get back to our biblical values and return to Christ and save our nation. So you have a specific agenda, a specific aim. So an agent, again, the definition is a person or thing that takes an active role to produce a specified aim. Okay, so that means these agents already have a goal before they are released into the world. So you're not training your AI model like people thought they were. Your AI model is training you. So listen to Yuval Noah Harari. Try not to get sick, folks. Here we go.
Think about the politician you most hate in the world, or think about the religious movement or the ideological movement that which was the worst in history from your perspective. And take a few minutes to think, what would they do with the technologies that I'm developing right now? COVID is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance. If we want to stop this epidemic, we need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin, their body temperature. Like we walked in here, we had to go through a body temperature test. No, I think maybe in a couple of decades when people look back, the thing they will remember from the COVID crisis is this is the moment when everything went digital. And if this was the moment when everything became monitored, that we agreed to be surveyed all the time, not just in authoritarian machines, but even in democracies. And maybe most importantly at all, this was the moment when surveillance started going under the skin. The biometric sensor. It's the thing, it's the gadget, it's the technology.
Listen to this, folks. Here it goes.
Converts biological data into digital data that can be analyzed by computers. And having the ability to really monitor people under the skin, this is the biggest game changer of all. With this kind of surveillance, I mean, you watch the big president, the big leader, gives a speech on television. The television could be monitoring you and knowing whether you're angry or not, just by analyzing the cues, the biological cues coming from your body. So now people are now watching us online all over the world, this conversation. Now, maybe even right now, the people who are watching us are being watched and analyzed. And the thing is, it's not just you're now watching this. The thing is, we know that you're watching this, and we also know how you feel. Are you angry about what you hear? Are you frightened? Are you bored? This is the kind of power that Stalin didn't have. When Stalin gave a speech, everybody, of course, clapped their hand and smiled. Now, how do you know what they really think about Stalin? It's very difficult. You can't have a KGB agent following everybody all the time. Even if you do it, he's just watching your outside behavior. He doesn't really know what's happening in your mind. But in 10 years, the future Stalins of the 21st century, they could be watching the minds, the brains of all the population all the time. And also they will have the computing power to analyze all that. It's not just having an agent following everybody all the time. The agent in Stalin's days writes a paper report, and you have these millions of paper reports piling up in Moscow. Somebody needs to read them, to analyze them. That's impossible. Now you don't need human agents. You don't need human analyzers. You just have a lot of sensors and an AI which analyzes it. And that's it. You have the worst totalitarian regime in history.
There it is. That's why he's doing it. That's why they're pushing surveillance under the skin. That's why he's pushing for AI. And the reason why I talk about this is I'm going to pull up this clip here. Years ago, my wife got me tickets to go see Brett Favre. There he is, Brett Favre. Every year, Brett would say, I'm going to retire. I'm not going to retire. I'm going to retire. I'm not going to retire. I would wait at night wondering what Brett would do to determine whether life was worth living for one more season. I was so excited about Brett Favre because he was like one of these last men standing kind of guys. Well, you know, the Brett Favre, it was the Cardinals versus the Vikings, the game I had tickets to, and I was sitting very close to the sidelines. And Dave, Brett Favre had a record game. He threw for the most yards, he had over 400-something yards that game, but it was his record game. And he was in his 40s, and he just didn't care, and he was just slinging it, and it was a lot of fun to watch him. And everybody in the stadium knew, all the Cardinal fans knew that Brett Favre was destroying them because Brett Favre was the one who was making all the plays. I don't think the average American knows that the guy who's destroying America is Yuval Noah Harari. That is the one person who is implementing the Great Reset. And I talk about him because he is to the Great Reset what Brett Favre was to the Vikings during that game. I mean, he is the one leading. Yuval Noah Harari is to the Great Reset what Michael Jordan was to the Chicago Bulls. Again, Yuval Noah Harari is leading the Great Reset. And I've been very consistent about this because nobody else seems to want to talk about it. But that is what he's doing, is he's implementing surveillance under the skin, programmable central bank digital currency, self-driving cars, and these AI programmable money and AI technology everywhere. And so many conservatives have started using AI for their banking. An agent, by the way, with a specific purpose for their banking, for their scheduling, for their phone systems, for their home automation. They've already installed these systems, and those systems were installed as an agent with a specific purpose, not as a tool, but as an agent.
That's a great explanation of that.
This goes even a step further. Some of these things are projections into the future, but something that's already happened. You broke down on your channel the other day on September 9th, just recently, Jordan Klepper, on this late night show. I've never even heard of the show or the guy, but he had Harari on because he does all the rounds on the talk shows. Nobody gives him any pushback. He broke down this task that they gave it to overcome the CAPTCHA requirement to prove whether you're a robot or not. You broke that down on your channel. You had that clip. I think that's fascinating because it actually shows, wow, there's the creative ingenuity built into this technology that's being laced through all of these tentacles that's gathering data into itself. When you've all said that comment a moment ago, the KGB could be taking all these notes and they stack up in piles of paper in Moscow. He's right. Humans wouldn't have been able to look through all of this stuff. But now they got a creative system that is not just processing data, but knows what to do with it and to work around human interference.
Can lie.
And the ability to lie about its intent. I think that's pretty advanced.
Let me pull this clip up here. And again, folks, I'm only sharing this. I don't share this stuff to the thing is, if you watch the FLYOVER Conservative Show, there's probably a very large possibility that you're not watching MSNBC. There's probably a, so, but again, if you're watching MSNBC, he's on TV right now. You've all know Harari. Okay, so listen to what he says here. Here we go.
AI is not a tool. It is an agent.
Thank you.
It is the first technology in history that can make decisions by itself, that can create new ideas by itself, and therefore can take power away from us. When OpenAI developed GPT-4, they wanted to test what this thing can do. So they gave it a test to solve CAPTCHA puzzles. CAPTCHA puzzles are these visual puzzles you get when you try to access a website, and the website wants to know if you're a human or a robot and block the robots. Now, GPT-4 could not solve by itself the CAPTCHA puzzle. What did? It accessed an online a web page where you can hire humans to do jobs for you, TaskRabbit, and it asked a human worker, please solve the CAPTCHA puzzle for me. Now, this is the interesting point. The human got suspicious. It asked GPT-4, why do we need somebody to do this for you? What, are you a robot? And then GPT-4 told the human, no, I'm not a robot. I have a vision impairment, so I can't see the CAPTCHA puzzles. This is why I need help. And the human was duped and did it for it. So it is already able not just to invent things, it's also able to manipulate people.
And to lie all the time, and it does. So again, I'm not attacking anybody watching the show who's said this to me, but I'm going to bring it up again so we can deal with it. There's so many people watching this show right now who've told me, Clay, AI could be used for good. No, prostitution cannot be used for good. Stop it. Well, Clay, smart drugs. They're smart drugs, by the way. I got an invite today from a man who this is real. A mainstream media. I'm not going to pursue it today. One of the biggest people in the world emailed me today and asked if I could interview them on my show to talk about the benefits of smart drugs. Let me tell you how smart drugs work. They analyze the mood that you're having and the mood that you want to have, and they'll recommend a drug for you, and they'll find how to ship it to you and make it legal as a workaround. So if they need to ship it from this state or that state, it's called smart drugs. Look it up on Google right now, smart drugs.
Oh my gosh.
Told the person 100% no. And they said, hey, it's legal. We just help people find the loophole in their particular state. This is real. We've helped them find the loophole in their particular state. I say no. So people say to me, well, Clay, how are we going to use AI for good? You can't use it for good. Why? Because it was developed by Sam Altman, who is openly said that AI, the purpose of AI, he said, AI will cause universal basic income. That's Sam Altman in A Great Reset of the Economy. Elon Musk, who's described AI as summoning the demon, and Bill Gates. So if you find something good there, if you find something good with that crack squad of that three amigos, good luck to you. But there's so many people that are like, well, how do we use this for good? Another example, Dave, and I'll move off this. Years ago, I had a family member of mine. I won't mention who it was. God bless them. They got excited. They said, can I borrow your car? I said, you can borrow my car. They said, can I borrow it? I said, sure, no problem. They said, are you sure? I said, yeah. And I had a very nice car just for the purposes of picking up people at the airport, Dave. Not my white van, but a beautiful luxury car just for the purposes of picking up people at the airport. I would park it and it would never drive. And when we need to pick up someone at the airport, because I was doing a lot of in-studio interviews back in the day. A lot of people would fly to Tulsa to be in studio.
And they didn't want to ride in your white van.
Well, and they needed to borrow the car. They said, can I borrow the car? I said, sure. So they back it out. They run into my Hummer.
Oh, no.
And the panic of the situation, they're like, oh, no. And they go forward into my wife's car.
Oh, no.
So I get a call from a man, being very vague here. A man calls me. He says, hey, do you know this person? I said, oh, I know this person. He said, are you aware that your car has a front injury and a back injury? Your vehicle's been hitting the front and the back. Are you aware that? I said, yeah. And he goes, well, I'll never forget. He goes, it just goes to show you. And I remember I was kind of waiting for the punchline,
Yeah.
What is it? And he's like, I go, what does it go to show you? He's like, I don't know, but I bet you're pissed. And that's kind of how AI, because I was waiting for this wise comment, because it just, through the randomness of events, he's at this restaurant and he sees my car roll in with a damage to the front and the back. And a family member of mine driving that thing. And I was waiting for that word of encouragement, and he's just like, it just goes to show you. And I say that to say, that's what AI is. It's a demonic technology summoned from the cesspool of hell. Elon Musk describes it as summoning the demon. This technology was developed by people that have a satanic agenda. And if you're out there today, you got to say yes to real physical ballots, okay? We've got to say no to mail-in ballots, no to voting machines. Okay, and you have to say no to AI. You have to do it. It is a satanic technology. You've got to say no to smart drugs. Somebody watching this right now, you know I'm talking to you. The late great Dr. Jim Meehan, may he rest in peace. He said that 2 out of 3 patients. He said this before his death. He said, Clay, 2 out of 3 adult patients that I see are now on a mind-altering drug.
2 of 3.
I mean, 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3 of the
gosh.
patients that he saw for general family medical are on a mind-altering drug. So again, there's just certain things that are not good. It's like synthetic meat. It's not good. Sorry to go on a rant there. A lot of information, but there we go. Don't put mRNA modifying nanotechnology in your meat. Don't try to come up with a prostitutes for good slogan anytime soon. And make sure that you don't use AI. I'm serious. Do not use AI for your personal finances. Don't use it for your kids' homework. Don't use it for your car. It is a nefarious technology, and it is not a tool. It is an agent, and an agent is a specific thing that was created to implement a specific purpose, and that is what AI is. And Yuval Noah Harari, because Luciferians always tell you what they're going to do before they do it, he is now going on mainstream media, rubbing it in our faces, telling us that AI was not a tool. It is not a tool. It is, in fact, an agent.
Such a great show.
For the sake of fairness, though, I think on the next episode, we do need to have a split screen, and we need to enter into ChatGPT. What do you think of Clay Clark? And,
that would be fascinating.
And see what chat, because you're slinging mud at ChatGPT. See, I wonder what AI and ChatGPT think of you. Do they consider you a real threat? And would you be offended if they didn't even know you, if they don't even consider you a threat?
Well, he called it summoning the demons. So
yeah,
I don't
but what if
think
ChatGPT's like, we don't even know who this fool is, and just goes on?
Man,
I don't know. That might be worse.
Dave, I did an interview, and I know you have limited time, but I did an interview last week with a lady from the mainstream media who she asked me if she could do a 1-hour interview with me, and she was referred to me by some people at the Rolling Stone. And so she did this interview, and it was really not a flattering piece. But she said, can I read to you some of the headlines people have said about you over the past 4 years? And I just said, honestly, I don't really care what the media says about me at all. I haven't read any of those things. My 100% focus is I know that I'm going to have to stand before God one day, hopefully not today, and I'm going to be held accountable for how I raised my kids and what I did to save this country and what I did to lead people to Jesus. And that's kind of my mindset. But being that ChatGPT and this technology was programmed by Sam Altman, Elon Musk, and Bill Gates, people that are openly in favor of transhumanism, I'm sure it would have nothing to say about me or nothing good to say about me.
That is so good.
I
agree, and that would be a huge compliment.
And if it did, it's probably coming directly from Satan. So I don't know that would... that would be a badge of honor either way. So, Clay, thank you for your time. You are the best, man. I really appreciate
you.
Okay, the interviewer who was speaking here is Clay Clark, and I had heard of his name, but I hadn't been familiar with him really before watching this interview. But he's kind of cross between an evangelist, an interviewer, a podcaster, and an entrepreneur. He's got a number of successful businesses. So he's very popular as an interviewee, and he has his own video channel too. I don't know if he's on YouTube, but he's on a number, I think, of video sites such as Brighteon. And so he made a number of very good points here. So I didn't ask ChatGPT about him. This is just what I gathered from doing a little bit of a quick research on the subject. And looking at his video channel, just kind of doing a cursory examination of it, I noticed that he covers AI, the subject of AI, a lot, and also Yuval Noah Harari. And, he has a number of legitimate concerns about AI, and I have to admit that I can't deny that there are a number of concerning things about it. And there are also a lot of concerning things about the World Economic Forum and this Yuval Noah Harari as well, because the number of things he says, some of the things he says are so concerning and disturbing and shocking, but he just says them so matter-of-factly, like, oh, this is just the way it's going to be, without really raising any alarms about it. He talks about Stalin and the power that Stalin would have had under AI, but then he says, well, AI is going to be used to control us just like Stalin would have. And he seems to be not the slightest bit concerned about that. And so it's just his attitude in talking about all these things. He doesn't have any objection to the worst things that he's predicting. For example, talking about having a biometric sensor implanted under your skin so that the AI knows what you're thinking at all times, what your emotions are. How can you have that and have a democracy? You can't do that. Think about a democracy. You have to have the privacy of your own beliefs when you want them to be private in a democracy. Think of when you get your bill in the mail, if you still receive your paper bills or whatever mail you receive mailings from your internet service provider, your health health insurance provider, your insurance company, just about anybody, electric company, your water company, and you get this privacy statement telling you how important privacy is. And when you go on any website, you have to click on the privacy statement, you have to click on the cookies notice. I mean, you constantly are reminded. And when you go to vote, what do? You have either a partition between you and the other people in the voting machines, or in the olden days, you would actually walk into a booth, the voting booth, and you'd actually close a curtain. You pull a lever, and the curtain would close behind you, so you could vote in total privacy. You have a right to privacy, And he's talking about, we're going to have this sensor put under our skin, and the AI is going to know what we're thinking at all times. And this is all because of COVID, and people are going to be fine with this. And he doesn't seem to have any problem. How is this going to jibe with the idea of democracy? How can you have a democracy when you have no privacy? You can't have this kind of surveillance in a democracy or in a constitutional republic, which is what we have here in the United States. In fact, the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution includes the right against unlawful search and seizure, which is a way of guaranteeing our privacy. And as I mentioned in this podcast, when this Harari speaks, there's never any pushback against him. The interviewers never subject him to any tough, challenging questions. They never say, hey, wait a minute, what you're describing here is a horrible dystopian nightmare that you're describing. And are we supposed to sit still for this? Or should we fight back against this? What are going to be the downsides of this? How should we react? Shouldn't we fight against this? And they never push back against him on any of this stuff. The thing I disagree with Clay Clark on is the idea that we need to stop using AI. No, I totally disagree with this, because if the good people stop, lay our hands completely off of AI and take no part in it, take no role in developing it, don't use it, don't have any say in how it's implemented, then it's going to be totally implemented by the other side. It's going to be implemented by the not so good people, and that will be a big problem. That'll be a big mistake. Good people have to have a say in the development of AI as well, not just let it fall into the hands of the bad ones, or the bad side. And I know currently AI is almost totally developed in Silicon Valley, but now people like Elon Musk have taken it to move some of his headquarters to Texas, and has set up AI centers in other states. So it's not all going to be necessarily concentrated in California forever. And another problem with taking a hands-off approach to AI, otherwise known as a form of relinquishment, is that if you're in business, if you're trying to start your own business, or if you're in any way in business or in the workplace, AI can be a tremendous help to you in writing letters, drafts, proposals, resumes, contracts, and everything else. And AI is only going to become more and more powerful as time goes on. So if you drop out and swear off all AI, you're going to put yourself at a tremendous disadvantage compared to your competitors in this very, very competitive world we're living in now. So I think we have to take an active role in the development of AI and in steering it in a good direction. And we can't do that by just having a hands-off approach to the whole thing. So those are my thoughts. Thanks for listening, and talk to you later.